Every transition tells a story of an end and the beginning.
Today, we stand in the middle of another transition as we approach the moment when 2024 passes on the baton to 2025.
Here is what to expect in 2025.
As we draw the curtains on the year 2024, we can only envision what lies behind the veil of 2025 and its expression across major sectors of the nation, the continent, and the world. 2024 opened with a hope of stability on the national and global scale. To Nigerians, it was a hope of major reforms following the stabilization of the new government, and on a global scale, a recovery from the inflation challenges occasioned by the pandemic. While the global economy took shape as envisaged, the Nigerian economy went in an opposite direction, surging to a 34% inflation rate. 2024, which began with a ray of renewed hope for Nigerians, is ending as a diary of dreams drowned and hopes dashed.
The turn of events in 2024 have left many questions unanswered, casting a shadow of uncertainty on 2025. In spite of the uncertainty, 2025 is not without its promises. The President's promise to resuscitate major sectors of the nation is due for delivery, having tarried this long owing from his pleas for more time. One question, however, lies unanswered. Will 2025 be the President's appointed time?
The year 2025, is this the President's appointed time?
Some will say yes, some will say no. I mean, when you look at the policies, two policies, removal of fuel subsidy really affected a lot of people. Floating the naira, which is also devaluation of the currency, really affected a lot of people. It's led to a lot of inflation. Today we are pegged at about over 34%. And that's why when the president, during his budget speech, made the pronouncement that was going to bring it down to 15%, a lot of people said it's almost impossible. Because when you look at it, the CBN did actually have inflation targets by this time of the year should be around 26%, but it never worked. We saw heightened inflation because of crude oil prices going up, well over 1,000 naira per litre from over 195 as at when the president did take over. So a lot has happened. Will he be able to do it? It's circumstances, neither here nor there. When you look at the West African sub-region, we've got a lot of elections coming up. Elections in Cameroon, with the Nigerian Paul Biya, a lot of factors. Côte d'Ivoire, who will be the next president. Don't forget, he's in his 80s too. The leader of Côte d'Ivoire is in his 80s. You're seeing a lot of economic challenge too across all these countries on the West African continent. So with about 12 elections in general, will this be his year? Also, don't forget what has happened to the ECOWAS sub-region. Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, all pulling out. Also, what has happened to the business climate, and even on the international scene, a lot of things, the Trump emergence. Will Tinubu be able to settle all of this, Ayo? What's your take?
All right, so the truth is, if you listen to the president's budget speech, it was at best optimistic. You're absolutely spot on 15% inflation rate. But on the other side, the CBN governor, Yemi Cardoso, had said that he was looking at the gains from the monetary policy reforms, the MPR committee meetings coming into play first few months in 2025. So we're going to hold them to their word to this. But in terms of looking at the indices, just looking at what experts have said, it looks practically impossible. However, it's renewed hope. It's them trying to keep hope alive. With regards to agriculture, not a lot of optimism around that, based on how much money was allocated to agriculture in the budget. I say this because one of the president's priority areas is to ensure that Nigerian homes can feed themselves, that we have food on the tables of Nigerian homes. If there's not enough investment in agriculture, we're still going to see high levels of poverty. The prices of food, which is a big inflation driver, will not go down. So these are some of the markers to show that even though the president sounds optimistic, we're not very, realistically, it doesn't sound very plausible. On the international scene, the Trump presidency is going to play a major role, not just in Nigeria, but also across the world. We talked about oil prices. Oil prices are benchmarked at $75 per barrel. We've talked about how a Trump presidency, in terms of oil production for the United States of America, could very well determine whether or not we will hit that amount of money in terms of oil prices. Again, that impact on how much revenue Nigeria is able to make to be able to meet up the promises of the president. So there are a number of factors working against this presidency. But he has continued to keep the mantra up to date, renewed hope. that hope is coming, we're going to have things better. So what we can do is just be optimistic and hope that all the promises made and some of the initiatives that have started in 2024, like NEL Fund, cash transfers to the most vulnerable, will begin to yield results in 2025.
And no other place to have this conversation than on the streets of Lagos,
Yeah.
right here, where all of the things happening in the world in 2025, the trajectory of the world will definitely affect us right here.
Absolutely.
Take, for instance, Germany is going to be having a snap elections in no time. You just saw the Marburg incident. Will the right-wing anti-immigration party, the AFP in Germany,
Make them more popular.
will it make them more popular? Will they be able to get a big one against Olaf Scholz? That was really excited when he called, that election, that snap election, because he saw that the coalition was not working well like he wanted it.
Yeah.
Another one is, the prospect of the likes of Emmanuel Macron, the prospect of the likes of, President Trump with Elon Musk. Already, the House has started complaining about Elon Musk. Some Democrats are not happy.
No.
You saw the deal he tried to pass through. Anyway, some people say it's the Trump and the Elon Musk deal.
Yeah.
But most Democratic people shut that down because they felt Musk cannot come here to dictate for us. And you've had some Republicans come on the other side and say, you don't need to be a House of Rep member in America to be the Speaker of the American Congress. Why can't Elon Musk do it? He's overreaching nature. Him and Vivek Ramaswamy. Trump putting a lot of his allies and people he believes so much in this government. How would that be? The trajectory of NATO. What's our conversation for 2015?
Absolutely.
Elections, droughts that will happen on the environmental scene. I mean, a lot of climate change challenges.
Very quickly, talking about the international scene and how the far right or the right-wing movement has gained popularity across different nations. And I think the Trump presidency is going to really advance their cause. We've seen this happen in the United Kingdom. The Conservatives are coming up very strong. They have Nigel Farage also gaining more popularity. And I believe that this stems from a place of larger intolerance for migration and inclusivity in many countries. We've seen it in France. You talk about Germany. Australia is another big one. So elections might pull up some surprises for 2025. We might see the far right gain more ground in 2025.
And you're having all these elections coming in thick and fast. We've talked about Germany. A couple of other countries have the elections, and we're going to reel out all of this to you. But what is most important is, like every year, 2025 will bring its own challenges. The question is, are you prepared? Are you mentally prepared? Are you psychologically prepared? And most importantly, the most important things that will help you navigate through the tides of 2025 will be your relationship with people, your relationship with the state of affairs, and your relationship with the news. And that's why we at the Rise News Channel will bring all sides and multiple views to you.
President Tinubu's description of what lies on the horizon indicates that 2025 could herald a consolidation of policy reforms which were initiated in 2023. Moreover, he's bullish about a 15% deceleration in the inflation rate and a simultaneous growth across several metrics. The president's projections may seem credible in light of the $5 billion Bonga Field investment by Shell, which has been touted as game-changing. The 49.7 trillion naira budget, as recently presented for 2025, also shows a commitment to economic recovery in the coming year. The budget makes generous allocations to security and infrastructural development. Should the appropriation bill pass the legislature unscathed, then Nigerians can expect improvements in road network and transportation, as well as investments in the military and other security agencies.
This budget christened Budget of Restoration, Securing Peace, Building Prosperity, strikes at the very core of our Renew Hope agenda and demonstrates our commitment to stabilizing the economy, improving the lives and repositioning our country for greater performance. This budget reflects a renewed commitment to strengthening the foundation of a robust economy while addressing the critical sectors essential for the growth and development we envision. To secure our nation, security is the foundation of all progress. We have significantly increased the funding for the military, paramilitary, and police forces to secure the nation, protect our borders, and consolidate government control over every inch of our national territory. Human capital development. Our people are our greatest resource. That's why we are making record investment in education, healthcare, and social services. Our administration has so far disbursed 34 billion naira to over 300,000 students through the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund.
Given these developments, 2025 may dissolve every doubt of President's capacity. However, a bird's-eye view of the current economic terrain in Nigeria shows the Shell's investment may not be enough to change the game. With the country bleeding multinationals and manufacturers heaping unsold inventories, the President's task is nothing short of Herculean. The business owners who have scaled through the economic straits of 2024 with a hope to have some respite in 2025. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry says not too soon. The Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Chinyere Almuna, forecasted that higher interest rates for businesses by the next Central Bank of Nigeria monetary policy meeting.
With a persistent rise in the inflation rate reaching a 28-year record high of 34.60% in November 2024, the Nigerian business arena has become a tense environment with elevated price constraints. Marking her point of concern as the unabating inflation rates, the Director General warns businesses to prepare for more stress from the burden of higher interest rates as we step into 2025. Yet another sector of the economy threatens a dent in revenue in the coming year. A recent Premium Times report gave an exhaustive analysis of illegal mining in Kwara State and security forces aiding the corruption. In addition, the mining sector has been plagued by under-exploration and mismanagement of resources. There remains a possibility of optimizing the mining sector should the Minister of Solid Minerals, Dele Alake, catalyze all his efforts towards productivity.
Indications from most angles blare rays of hardship as a beacon of hope in the President's assurance to go bleaker. While the pendulum seems to swing towards the President's Tinubu's doubters, we must not shut the door on the President's capacity to surprise them with sweeping results akin to the Asian economic miracle. However, the President's strategy for flipping the Nigerian plot remains under his sleeves. Without a shadow of doubt, 2025 will feature an eventful economic trajectory, which will stand vis-a-vis events that unfold in the political landscape of the nation. 2025 may not come with the intensity of an election year, but it remains a crucial one to shape the outcomes of 2027. Politicking is expected to swing into full gear as stakeholders get strengthened and bets are drawn. Until now, national administration and governance have received a gaunt attention from politicians. In 2025, the attention will almost entirely shift from public governance to personal political interest in preparation for the upcoming elections. This preparation will in turn season 2025 with frequent defections by politicians who seek to heighten their chances of success. While one cannot ascertain the specific response of political parties to these defections, a challenge from the political parties can definitely be anticipated.
Another point of anticipation is the role of the recently unleashed local governments in shaping the Nigerian polity in 2025. With the local government in its new financial glory, the position of chairman is set to attract some traffic and possibly some chaos. Observing the recent suspension of a local government chairman by the Edo State House of Assembly, other local governments must take the cue to expect more political pressure as an add-on to their financial liberty. Edo State also continues to observe Asue Ighodalo's dogged challenge of its state election results. 2025 will decide if this dogged dog will eventually eat the fattest bone. Zooming in on an intersection between polity and economy, the tax bill is one policy that has roused the waters in recent times. While the bill was welcomed with mixed reactions in 2024, 2025 will tell if the bill will fulfill its cycle of enactment.
Well, I think generally for 2025, every businessman and business segment should still be cautiously optimistic. The climate is still going to be stiff for a while. I expect that the first quarter and second quarter, things will still, kind of generally remain not too different from how it's ending, in 2025. So we're likely going to get to end of Q2 before we begin to see a lot of downward trend that can make a significant impact for business. So for SMEs, the key measures will still be that we continue on, cost savings measure, focus on essentials, on criticals, businesses that focus on exports and that could earn some FX proceeds will do well. So, and then by the time you get into Q2 and some of the impact of government spend and infrastructure finance and the safety measure from a security perspective begin to impact the business climate, we can then begin to have a different feel of what the direction will be for the year. I mean, talking inflation, I think things will start tapering down, but it only means that the rate of increase will be low. Generally, price levels are still, generally too high. Government is projecting that by the end of the year, we will probably hit 15%. I think that's rather too optimistic. I expect that from where we are with food inflation, probably still be within the range of 40%, and headline inflation significantly above 30. My expectation is that I don't see a reduction below an average of 23% rate of inflation will be more realistic for next year. I mean, the world is waiting for the Trump presidency. The expectation is that dollar strengthens, and that's a wake-up call, a wake-up challenge for the Naira. I guess that's the reason why in the budget speech, the projection or the target is that we will probably be targeting a 1,500 Naira to the dollar. On a normal day, you will have expected a more optimistic target. In fact, it was lowered again from what you have in MTEF. If you have read MTEF said about 1,400 Naira to the dollar. I suspect that just considering the impact of what a stronger Naira, a stronger dollar, will have for the global economy, that was why the government then kind of forecast 1,500 Naira to the dollar. So tough time, around the world. It's America first, and hopefully the rest of the world will also focus on how to strengthen domestic economy and enhance their export earnings. I think as a country, we need to focus on priorities. We need to understand what is critical. I think if we take our debt servicing level at the moment as an obligation that we have to defray, then we look to recurrent expenditure. I believe that a significant portion of the recurrent spend can still be shaved off our heads. We do not have the finance and the funds to budget, in the neighborhood of 15 trillion for recurrent spend. I think we need to be a lot more cautious. We need to be a lot more conservative. Let's divert and direct every available fund, the limited fund that we have, to more capital projects, to more infrastructure financing, and indeed let the citizens see the public sector, actually tightening bet, the exact principle they are preaching for Nigerians.
I think for 2024, the issue of insecurity has been a major highlight of the administration. Of course, that there was so much expectation about the new administration that was coming in. And this is against the background of insinuations and suspicions that perhaps the previous government of Muhammadu Buhari was somehow soft on terrorists for whatever reason. I mean, these were the conjectures by a lot of Nigerians. And so there was the thinking that a new person would bring something new in the fight against violence, violence undertakings in parts of the country, especially, up north. But unfortunately, this did not come to be. The Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who came in, with amidst so much expectations, and hope that he was going to do something different, seemed stuck almost from the very beginning. Of course, if you look at what has happened, the trend data, and statistics this year with regards to the theaters of violence in the country, there have been more kidnaps in many parts of Nigeria. There have been more acts of violence, and many more people have been killed in parts of the country. I expect that this insecurity that characterized 2024 will continue into 2025. I don't see any major change, coming up from that, perspective. And then, of course, you also look at the major, one of the, another critical highlight of 2024, restlessness among Nigerian population as a result of what they see as bad governance. Of course, you remember the hashtag End Bad Governance protests that took place in parts of the country this year, in 2024. Not much has been done to address the basis for even the restlessness and then the protests in the first place. Therefore, I see a repetition, perhaps in pockets, in parts of the country, of this same social disagreements with the government playing out on the streets through protests. I see that happening in part because, like I said, the issues that led to the hashtag End Bad Governance protests have not been addressed. Poverty continues to deepen every single day. Inequality continues to be expanded. So there's just so much frustration in the land. So I see the same thing happening in 2025, simply for the reason that it was not addressed. Then, of course, closely linked with the insecurity again is the issue of production of food, which also plays out with regards to inability of people to have access to cheaper food items. And so I see that level of social agitation playing out in 2025. Yeah, projections. It's some of us are no prophets, but sometimes we look into the crystal ball, and based on the basis of the objective conditions on ground in the country, you can make a few predictions that sometimes would seem to be relatively accurate, if not accurate. The government will continue, to be under pressure because all eyes are essentially on the government. When you have the general malaise that we have in parts of the country, whether it's insecurity, whether it's joblessness, unemployment, whether it's corruption, you're always going to look at the government and what the government is going to do. So all eyes will be on the government, most especially all eyes will be on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because as it is said, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. They have the potential to be seen as winners in 2025 if they are able to get a few things right. Can they begin to tweak the economy in a way that will positively impact on the people of this country? Would they do some things that would show to Nigerians that they are beginning to get it right when it comes to tackling insecurity in parts of the country? So it's only the government that can answer that question, because they are the ones that are constitutionally mandated, given all the powers and the resources of the state to use them for the purpose of securing Nigerians and then for the purpose of making things better for Nigerians.
The President's Promise syndrome has also extended to Ghana, where the emergence of John Mahama is expected to bring in some vitality to the nation. The NDC candidate triumphed with a handsome majority after a two-time defeat in previous election cycles. Ghana is burdened by multi-sectoral challenges. However, Mahama has assured Ghanaians that his 24 hours economic plan is sure to deliver resurgence in the Ghanaian economy. Still on the West African scene, the ECOWAS will be perfecting the divorce proceedings from some renegade brothers. The final decision comes as a major blow to the leadership of the sub-regional bloc headed by Nigeria's President Tinubu. The departure of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger will also coincide with the 50th anniversary of the regional body. While it will rupture peaceful relations among countries in West Africa, 2025 will reveal the country's strategy for navigating international relations in what seem to be walking on eggshells. On a broader scale, at least 12 African countries will transition into a new phase of government in 2025, with each election will have its peculiar moments. The Nigerian president of Cameroon will also seek yet another term in government, and this will court global attention. Tijan Tiam, the former CEO of Credit Suisse and the Ivorian presidential aspirant, is also one to look out for in 2025.
On the foreign scene, 2025 will pan out as a sequel, especially with the reemergence of Donald Trump as American president. This bounce back, among other things, is expected to facilitate a ceasefire in Ukraine. One cannot, however, say the same for Gaza. The Republicans have expressed open support and commitment to funding Israel's onslaught against the Palestinians. They are, however, hesitant to take a stand for Ukraine, given their ambivalent responses to Ukraine's call for funding. This dynamic may catalyze a definite ceasefire in Ukraine. On the other hand, the Israeli-Palestinian war does not seem to have a definite end in view, as attempts to settle through diplomatic relations have been epileptic. Flowing from the events of 2024, a ceasefire in 2025 would be at best Pyrrhic. Back in America, the right-wing dominance in the US has turned the spotlight on Elon Musk as the Midas touch to Donald Trump's successful campaign. Given his $200 million donation to Trump's campaign, the richest man in the world is becoming the center of attention for other Republican candidates who suspect his imminent benevolence to the Reform Party. Perhaps in response to the anticipated flow of resources, the Reform Party's Farage has aligned his interest on the right side of the wing. Even Kemi Badenoch of the Conservative Party claims to be far more devoted to the tenets of the right wing. Europe is also set to witness noteworthy political transitions in 2025, particularly in Germany, where a vote of no confidence was triggered against Olaf Scholz. The Russian election, which is set for the eventide of 2025, may also reshape the current state of international relations between Russia and the rest of the world, especially with regards to the Russia-Ukraine war. With the United Kingdom's upcoming local elections and 10 other elections spread across the continent, Europe will certainly have more stories to tell by the end of 2025.
Tying it all together, the event of 2024 has handed us pieces of information and projections, all of which are best clues to piecing the coming year together. Nevertheless, 2025 retains a prominent seal of uncertainty. In this light, the most accurate projection may be to prepare for the unexpected.